a monster.
I'm your number one fan.
Now clear your minds. Knows what scares you. It has from the very beginning.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
It's been informed that zombies have entered the building. They're at the door. They're coming in.
I'm waiting for the day for one of us to rip ass on the show.
Oh God! If it fucking happens, it's definitely gonna be.
It's happened a couple times. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I'm your host as always, Corey, and alongside me is my good pal Tony. What's going on, brother?
Not much, man. I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Hell yeah.
Doing good. Stresses at work. That's about it for right now. That and I'm remodeling the house right now, so it's pretty chaotic over here.
Chaotic as hell. How in the world are we able to record right now?
We're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it. Yeah, man. So, hey, folks, real quick, happy birthday, Tony.
Oh, dude, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Man. No problem. Yeah.
Yeah, another year older, another year not so wiser.
Hey, we're making it.
Yeah, we're getting there, man. Well, I mean, being now that I'm 33, I don't feel it though. Doesn't feel. It's one of those things where you get into your 30s and really don't feel like you're in your 30s. You still feel like you're kind of in your 20s. So I don't know.
I still feel that way, man.
Yeah, life's coming. Like I said, life's coming at us hard, dude. But we just don't. Luckily, I mean, some people, I guess, they do feel their age and they'd be in their 30s, but feeling like they're in their 50s and shit. So I guess I'm pretty lucky in that regard.
I'm not gonna lie though. There's days where I'm like, man, the hell with my back. But other than that, I'm fine.
That's
just from
if
me.
It's like that. That's a good thing. I mean, if you constantly have back problems and issues, and that's not good. But if it like comes and goes, and it depends on the day at work or whatever, then you're pretty good. You're pretty lucky.
Yeah. Well, I think it was the early years of us hanging out in high school and stuff, and the shit we used to do to our bodies. I mean, Jackass was a highly influenced on us, I think.
Yeah.
We used to do some really dumb shit. Yeah.
We came out unscathed, so that's in and of itself that's amazing.
Yeah. I'm not surprised that we didn't have. Well, I'm actually quite surprised we didn't have more broken bones and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, all the crazy crap we used to do. But anyways, so Tony.
Yeah.
Well, first things first. Tony, where can everyone participate with us?
That they can definitely hop on our Facebook group and get on there and make some posts and we'll just talk movies and just do whatever. I mean, as long as it's horror related and like that, we're pretty like open with the rules in the group and everything like that. So like I said, as long as it's horror related, you can post like funny horror related memes on there. You can post like stuff that you've watched, pickups if people are out picking up. We saw one of our cool cats posted a picture of his collection, and I'm always loving collection posts. Those are really cool. And that was really neat. That's the first one we've gotten. So seeing that was like, oh man, I hope this like opens the floodgates and people are more open to posting their collections and what they picked up and stuff like that. So yeah, man, that's if you definitely want to get with us, definitely hop on our Facebook group, Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I mean, type that in there and we should pop up and yep.
Yeah. And folks, we are a closed group, but if you ask, we'll let you in. We've got a couple moderators moderators or admins, I guess you would say. Admins, they kind of watch the group closely and allow stuff to happen pretty regular. Like Tony said, we're very open minded to what you post in there. Just as long as you're not like trying to promote crap, stuff like that. But other than that, we just enjoy it and have a good time. And yeah, I did I did like that post that you're talking about, and you know, I'm hoping that we can get some more participation there because I would love to see. You know, I think we've got like 100 and what is it, 170 followers in there,
Yeah,
something like that. I would love to see like that somebody's bound to have a couple collections there, even if it's just what's in your collection. It doesn't have to be movies, you know. I
Oh, yeah.
collect. I also collect lobby cards and screen shots of film and stuff like that. So just post whatever, guys. Let's get something going in there.
Absolutely, man.
I'm gonna post pictures of my collection when I'm done, but I'm currently building my shelving right now and putting stuff away on my shelf. And actually, I already have to have more shelves because I don't have enough space.
Yeah, that's the killer right there is the space, man. Getting enough space for all the movies and collectibles and
Yeah.
figures and even wall space with posters is kind of like, for me it's kind of tough because I have about, I think, 7 posters I want to get up, and right now I'm completely out in the movie room of space. I cannot put anything else on the wall, so I'm thinking about putting them up on the staircase and then like the foyer of my house. And if it gets to the point, man, fuck it, I'll start putting them in the living room. Yeah, that'd be pretty dope actually. Get it kind of like because I have the TV on the wall already and stuff like that, so I can get it kind of similar to like a matinee kind of thing.
That'd
Or
be
a movie
cool.
theater. Yeah, that would be pretty dope. So it would just end up it would end up like spilling out into my living room essentially. But yeah, the only thing with posters is it's expensive getting them framed, and it's not cheap. So
No.
it's going to be one of those things where it's going to take me a little while to get all that done. But I definitely want to get them up there, though, man. I definitely went crazy um on the posters in the last. Well, actually, it's been a good 4 months since I picked those up, and they've been sitting here, and I just want to get them on the wall so bad. So, but like I said, it's not
Oh
cheap.
yeah. No. No. I think when my wife when she framed mine, I think she got it done at like Hobby Lobby, and it was like $200.
Yeah,
So
that's average. Yeah.
and I believe she paid like 150 for the poster. So
But that's what kills me is that would be more frame. It cost me more framing the poster than I actually spent on the poster. So yeah, that's that says a lot right there.
it was worth it because I mean when they're framed, man, they pop.
Oh yeah,
They're amazing looking.
they definitely do. You get a black frame around them,
Yeah.
flat black. Yeah, it looks really nice.
Oh yeah, I like it.
But yeah, like I said, I mean, it didn't go off on a tangent, but yeah, definitely join the group. I want to throw a shout out to our moderators and our admins. They do a fantastic job.
Mhm.
Thank you guys for your work on that. So yeah, like I said, if you want to, feel free to join in the group and join in on the discussions that we have in there. They're really fun.
Definitely. Well, with that, Tony, what are we covering today?
Tonight we are covering, and it's conflicting. I don't know if it came out in 2014 or 15. I've seen different takes on that from IMDb and even Letterboxd and everything, and Wiki and stuff like that. But we are covering a Canadian slasher film called Lost After Dark. Very, very indie slasher flick, but like I said, it's cool because it's a period piece. So it kind of, I think looking up, it takes place in 1977 in Michigan. So yeah, that was pretty cool too.
Oh, does it take place? I thought it took place in the 80s. Was I wrong?
Well, I mean, it might. I don't know. I saw somewhere where it said 77, so it definitely had a more 80s feel to me.
Yeah.
So
I,
yeah,
I thought it said 83 or 84. I could be wrong though.
It feels more like it took place in 83.
Yeah. I know that like the first scene took place in like the 70s. I think. I'm gonna have to go back and look now because now you got me questioning it.
No, it makes sense though. It does make sense that it took place in the 80s because there's a Star Wars joke in here. So Star Wars, now I know the original Star Wars came out in '77, but I think the guy made a Yoda joke. So Empire came out in like '80, and then Return of the Jedi came out in '83. So it would have to be in the '80s
No.
them to make that joke. So yeah, figured it out, man. Definitely
Okay.
80s. I don't know where it said 77, but I saw that somewhere. But yeah, to me it makes more sense in the 80s. But like I said, it's pretty much one of your standard slasher films where you have a group of characters. They're going to go off and go party during their prom at school. They're going to sneak off, steal a bus, and then go to one of the main characters' cabin, family cabin he has. But along the way, they run out of gas in the bus, and they have to start walking and finding some shelter. And unfortunately, they find the worst house you could take shelter in, and chaos and stuff ensues from there.
Oh man, that's the quick synopsis. Yeah, I was quite happy that you had suggested this for this episode. It had been a long time since I've seen this film. I think, well, the last time I saw this film, I had just bought it, and I bought it when it came out.
Yeah.
I remember calling you up because afterwards, like, I had to get your take on it. I was like, dude, this is basically the fucking movie we wrote.
Yeah, the one we talked about. Yeah, exactly.
It's very similar to what we wrote. It's weird, but because we were thinking, we actually did write a movie and we wrote it around the same time. We got the screenplay done, and that was it. And this is very similar to what we wrote. So,
yeah,
cool.
About that too. I kind of like, like me and Corey, we talked about a lot of this stuff, like taking play the setting and even there was even a barn. I was like, oh shit, like this barn and everything like that. The time period that it takes place, the archetypes, the characters, because these characters are all archetypes. I mean,
well, all the way down to like the storyline where it was a family that had gotten killed or lynched by the townspeople, but the son had gotten away, and it's like, damn, that's our fucking story.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But nevertheless, I enjoyed this.
Oh yeah. I know what intrigued me with this one, and I know back 2014 to 2015, that was when I was trying to, and I still kind of do, but any film that looked like it was going to be a slasher film, I had to buy. Contemporary ones, more older ones that I would find out in the wild. I collected every bit of them I could. And the cover, of course, I mean, the old saying, you get sucked in on the cover, it intrigues you. And then I saw the cover to this, and I was like, oh yeah, I got to watch this. This looks like it's right up my alley.
Yeah.
And buying it and then checking it out, I was pleasantly surprised because this movie, for it being so indie and so low budget, it's shot really well, and it looks great. I know I have a DVD copy and a Blu-ray copy, and the DVD copy, of course, I mean it's DVD, so it doesn't look bad though, and my Blu-ray copy looks fantastic. Colors really pop. There's a couple of scenes where there's a lot of like, I want to say like the color, like there's a lot of emphasis on, especially in a couple scenes, there's a lot of emphasis on like yellow, and the yellow really pops, especially with the principal's car. Like, it looks great. It's so nice, and I like a lot of things about this movie, man. I really enjoy them, and I know we're gonna get into like the nitty gritty of it in a minute, but like I said, even down to like how simple the story is. I mean, you think about it, it is simple, but that's fine because this, at the end of the day, this is a slasher film. It doesn't need to be a complex and convoluted story. It needs to be simple, and this to me feels like an old school slasher film to a T.
Yeah. I agree with that statement. Back to the indie stuff, man. It's really cool how they did some of the shots, like the opener, for instance. The opening sequence takes place in the 70s, and I love how there's like this really grainy effect to the film, as if they shot it with like a really old camera and everything, and you know, the young girl's killed off fast. And then boom, now it's like 1984. It's a little bit cleaned up. It's not grainy anymore, stuff like that. So I really love the fact that they did that. And then there's a shot in the middle of the film where it starts getting kind of grainy again, and then it says, what does it say, like "real missing" or something?
Yeah, that really surprised me when I first saw this. I honestly thought something was going on.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, what the hell happened? I was gonna check. And I was like, oh no, okay, this is a stylistic thing that they did. This was planned, and I was like, oh, that's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps your audience engaged. You know, you really think like, oh, something going on with the movie itself, but no, it's just them checking to make sure you're still watching the movie,
Yeah.
paying attention.
Well, that's the beautiful thing, because then, like, you know, it's cut, and then you don't know who's like survived that, because I think it's right where a girl gets like trapped in a bear trap or something,
Yeah.
and the killer's approaching her, and then, like, you know, cut scene, everything, and then you see the killer kind of stumbling around, and she fucked him up or something.
Yeah, that's why I
So-
used to have a problem with the scene, because it just showed her and she was still alive and she was still trying to get away and stuff. I'm like, well, what happened? Like, how did she get away from the killer? And then they explained it through dialogue. And I was like, oh, okay. Thank you for. I'm glad that they actually explained it, because it kind of filled in the blanks with what happened. Because that was like a pivotal scene where, you know, you see the killer approaching, and this girl's dead to rights, caught in a bear trap. And it's like, there's no way she's getting out of this alive. And then she just ends up on her own alive. And you're like, well, what the fuck happened? But I'm glad that they covered that with that little bit of dialogue.
Yeah.
Used to have a problem with it, but now I don't, because they covered it a little bit with that dialogue. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I think in the beginning it kind of lost me when I first watched it, but now I've got more of an appreciation for stuff like that. It's added in, especially knowing that this film is an indie film.
Mhm.
So I dig that. And again, like you said, it's kind of a stylistic thing. I like it. It was cool.
Definitely is. Like I said too, you have the archetypes. You have the final girl archetype. You have the jock. You have the stoner. You have the slutty girl. You have the rocker chick. You have all the characters that you would think.
The token black guy,
Of course.
who
Yeah.
lives for a while.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
He's not killed off fast.
Actually, the order, and we're going to say this too, guys. I know this is more of a more contemporary film, so we will get spoiler heavy. With this.
Definitely.
Me and Corey both checked on ways you can actually see this movie. It is available to rent on Vudu, on YouTube, on Amazon, fairly cheap, not too expensive. So if you guys do want to check it out, definitely check it out. And just want to throw that out there. We will be spoiling it. We'll be talking a lot about the plot and other little intricacies with the movie. So yeah, just a disclaimer, like we always do. But yeah, the order of the kills really threw me off when I first saw this. I didn't really expect the people that actually end up dying in this movie to die in the order that they did, or at all for that matter. And that's one of the things I wanted to really get into this with you about is, especially with the final girl character that they're setting up, very, very, very assumingly setting up that this girl is going to be your archetype final girl, and believe it or not, she's the first one killed. So it kind of like, whoa, shit, it kind of really throws you off, and you're like, damn, if this girl's going to get it, then nobody's safe.
Yeah.
Because she's such a good, like, level-headed girl.
She's the goody two-shoe of the group.
Oh yeah, for sure.
She's there because she's trying to impress the kind of the jockey guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what it's funny about the whole scene is that she ends up dying because she cares. Like she really like is a sweet person, has a big heart, and that's what ends up being her downfall. I'm like, wow, that's pretty fucked up actually. Yeah, I did not expect when I first saw that, I did not expect that kill at all. Really, really surprised the hell out of me. But yeah, the way characters are killed and the order that they're killed really, for the most part, kind of threw me off. What'd you think, man, when you saw it? Did you see that coming? I didn't.
I didn't see that coming even now, because I like I said, it had been a while since I've watched this film. So watching, I was basically going into it with fresh eyes, and yeah, I completely forgot that they were leading you to believe that she was the final girl. All the signs were pointing to her being the final girl, and no. No, she wasn't. Well, she got like a pickaxe to the stomach or something, didn't she?
Yeah.
That was brutal.
Well, the really thing, they did this really smart where they set up, given the backstory, what you saw in the beginning of the movie, they set it up to where her sister was killed by this guy previously.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's good. Like, that's good. A setup for her to actually redeem her sister in the end and kind of get, revenge.
Closure and revenge, yeah.
And all that stuff. So they set it up to where they really, really thought that this girl was going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, bam, she's out. And I'm like, oh, fuck, like, all that work to set it up and do this and do that just to throw the audience off. I'm like, that's pretty ballsy, I got to say.
Very. I actually like the way it was kind of I guess you would say poetic in a sense, because she was laying there dying and she had her sister's necklace clutched in her hands because she found that on a shrine. Which, by the way, I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit, because there was a lot of paid homage. You had the shrine, which led me to believe, like, Friday the 13th Part 2. Where Jason's mom's head. It looked like that. It looked like a shrine like that. And what was the other one? Oh, the Lucio Fulci homage. Did you not catch that? The shard of glass.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh man, Fulci.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was getting Texas Chainsaw vibes from this movie. Just the house, the location, and
I was too. Yeah, and that's one thing. That's one thing that really did it for me with this film. Because even the house, to me, the house looked a lot like Madman Mars's house. Did it not?
Yeah, that's a good point actually.
Yeah, but I mean, it does feel. I don't think it so much feels like Leatherface's actual house, but the house that they visited prior, the house that was like next door or whatever. Where Franklin was in the downstairs because he couldn't get upstairs.
Right. Yeah.
He was doing raspberries. Fucking annoying.
Yeah.
But that house reminded me of the house that they were in on this film. But even the whole downstairs basement type deal really reminded me of the Madman Mars house.
Yeah. You say that, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah. But yeah, the barn, of course, I love the barn scenes. Those were cool. That scene where, what was his name? The stoner kid. What was his name?
Toby.
Yeah. The scene where he's like, "Oh, I finally found my glasses," and the killer just stomps on him. Oh.
You found them, but they're not going to do you any good. So he was. So there's a dance going on in the school, and they get out of the. They have Toby I guess hotwire the bus so they can steal it and get away. But the principal of the school, Principal C, is a real hard ass, and he's a real he's basically just a hard ass. Like he's always, getting on to the students and disciplining them and.
Well, he feels that they're soft.
Yeah, they're soft. Yeah, because this guy's Yeah,
he was a guy from Nam, and yeah.
right. You can tell he was hardened, like military and very structured, and he has some of the best lines. Played by Robert Patrick, he's got some of the best lines in the movie. I crack up every time he says anything really, because he's just so. Robert Patrick's great, but the way he delivers his lines in how serious he is and how menacing he is not menacing, but how serious he is with the line delivery. It's fucking funny.
Yeah.
When he told that girl, "Don't look at me with those big dumb cow eyes," that shit cracked. Wait, he said it.
Yeah, I wrote that shit down. Said
She looked at him across like, "What?" You say that? Yeah, so they're sneaking off, telling parents like, "Hey, I'm spending the night at this person's house," and the other one's telling the parents, "Oh, I'm spending the night at this person's house," and they don't catch wise to it and know what's going on. So they map it out pretty good, getting away. But unfortunately, they don't put gas in the bus or get a bus with gas. He said something about the gas gauge was broken, I think. So.
Yeah.
That was good. So they just break down and like I said, it just so happens to be like right in front of the worst place you can break down. I mean, they just made it like 10 minutes more, or broke down about a couple miles beforehand, they'd be good. But no, they break down not right in front of this house, but
basically at the damn driveway.
Right, damn close enough.
Yeah, which kind of blew my mind. Like, so when they break down, Toby and I forget the girl's name. What's the girl's name that's with him?
The rocker.
Yeah. So she's walking with him, and they're like, "Hey, we'll go get help. We'll go find gas." And instead of walking down the road, they probably would have all been alive. So you wouldn't have had a movie.
Yeah.
Had she just walked, him and Toby and her just walked down the road. But instead they decided to go down the creepy ass driveway to an abandoned looking house. Because that makes sense.
In these movies, these characters are always going to explore. I mean, they're always going to stick their nose in places they shouldn't be, and that's what ends up happening. And they get the whole group like, "Hey, we found a place we can kind of hang out until we kind of figure out what we want to do." And like I said, this is not the place that you want to be.
Well, they all decided to go and look for gas there, which again, I don't know. I found it all funny.
Yeah, it's funny, just a happenstance and where they're at and what goes on.
It's just it's really a cliche slasher film.
Oh, for sure, dude.
Because even like, instead of walking into a creepy abandoned house and going, "Hey, let's stay together, let's look for shit," instead they're like, "Hey, we'll split up. We're all going to split up," and literally all the couples split up.
I mean, like I said, it's very cliche, but I think it's intended to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's funny if you watch, a lot of our audience watches like 80s slasher films. There's some that are made in Canada, and for whatever reason, I think it's just to relate to the audience. The Canadian slasher films the setting is always in America, or is always in America, USA. And I thought there was a line in this movie that was funny, where they're like, "Hey, this is America, and this and that," and I'm like, "It's Canadian films." I always think that's funny because that's kind of like a throwback also to the films that came out in the 80s, the slash films that come out in the 80s from Canada, where they're trying to make it a point to take place in the United States. So I thought that was another kind of little nod to films of the 80s. But I don't know who was, if you had to pick a character that was your favorite character that you related to most, or that you kind of, I don't know, your favorite character, who would you pick, man?
I would say Toby. I like Toby.
Toby was my guy, man. Like I said, I felt for him. He was kind of getting the shit end of the stick a lot in this movie. Like he was always the guy that got volunteered to do this and do that, and then they kind of shit on him because he's a bigger guy, he's the heavier set dude. So
Yeah. They made it a point to like everyone was like, well, then why did you bring him? Because he can hotwire a bus, and they were like, he's got the weed.
yeah, so he's the stoner guy. So hits up another character arc where he's, or not character arc, but character archetype where you have the
Mhm.
stoner, but he's a
He was-
big guy, kind of like they make him out to be like the nerd and this and that because he's got these big glasses and he's kind of dorky and this and that. But I don't know, man. I felt for him and I wanted him to get some like recognition or just like for him not to get treated like shit because he was a really cool dude and he seemed
Yeah.
like a stoner guy. So
Oh, the bad thing is I don't know if I think honestly, and this is maybe digging way too deep into him, his character, but I feel that he probably did that stuff just to kind of fit in with the crowd.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure, yeah. Or that, or try to hook up with the Maryland chick because you can tell he kind of liked her, but she kind of wasn't giving him the time of day. It seemed like she was just using him.
She didn't. Well, she was clueless to him because he's like, telling her how pretty she is and how and even like he was giving her the benefit of the doubt because I think she had the hots for what was the guy's name what was his name the guy that, but he was with a different girl.
Mhm.
But you could tell she was kind of in, I wouldn't say in love, but had the hots for a different guy.
Yeah.
And she just was completely blind to Toby and everything, and Toby's like sweet and sweet talking her, and then she's like, one day you're gonna make a woman very happy.
Yeah.
You're a
But
really good guy, and he's just like,
You're Toby. You don't hear from the girl that you're crushing on hard. Poor dude. Like I said,
Mhm.
he ended up getting fucked in this movie big time. Like he got used as bait. He couldn't get
oh
any
man,
guys are harking on him the whole time.
treating
He was
him
all-
like shit.
Like I felt so bad for the dude. Like he was just
Mhm.
because I guess he wanted to kind of like fit in with, like you said, fit in with the group, kind of come off like he's cool and he had the weed and he was, the guy to go to if he had problems or whatever. Like it felt so bad for him, man.
But even I think that was kind of overdone because every time you turn around, he was like, "Hey, I've got weed."
Oh yeah. They
And
definitely,
it's like, oh, okay, this is getting overdone.
yeah, they definitely
You
did that.
That's why I felt like I got the feel that he was just trying to fit in with them.
Yeah.
And even kind of the rocker chick, I don't believe she even fit in really. She
Nah,
was just kind of there.
yeah, she was
Mhm.
going on the ride, not just going along with it. She really seemed like she was just hanging out because she wanted to smoke. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, the first couple times we were hanging out, she's like, "So, do you have, you have a joint? You got some weed on you holding?" Yeah, it just seemed like to me she wanted to get some freebies.
hmm
But yeah, dude, I felt bad for him. I really did. What did you think of the killer?
I liked him. Honestly, I would have liked more of a dark silhouette of him. I really didn't. I didn't care for the close-up shots of his face.
Yeah, I was kind of wishing he would wear a mask though.
Yeah, that's why I said even if he was maskless, kind of a dark figure of him would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Just to kind of see, even from like a behind point of view of him, not so much ever like a close-up shot of his face because he just looked like a crazy ass guy in the woods,
Yeah.
or in this case on a farm. I was
Essentially.
kind of, I get it. I get what they were going for, but I like even like the scene where Principal C and him kind of have a standoff. That I don't know. I just didn't care for his face the whole time. Like I could have done without seeing his face.
Well, like I said, if they would have done like the more like, I'll throw it back to a good example, like Final Exam, how they did that with the killer in Final Exam, where he wasn't wearing a mask, but you really never saw his
True
he was
face.
shadows. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
more mysterious and
Yeah.
yeah, I think that would have been more fitting or like Madman kind of where you do get that shot of Madman's face, but more or less he's kind of in the dark and in the shadows, stalking, doing that kind of thing. So yeah, I definitely think that would have been beneficial for him. But yeah, I was kind of hoping I was kind of wishing he would have a mask or something like that. I like masked slasher villains and
Yeah.
like I was kind of maybe a little missed opportunity, but like I said, it's not like it's just like a nitpick really.
Yeah. This guy just honestly looked dirty.
Yeah. Well, he looked like a crazed like cannibal, like
But
yeah,
even walking up to him, I wouldn't think he's a cannibal. I really just wish they did something a little different to make him look more horrifying, I guess you would say.
Plus like his teeth, they were like filed down and shit, and they were really, they looked like fucking canines, man. They're really sharp and
Mhm.
yeah, purposely done, I'm sure. Like he filed them down or whatever, but yeah, that was pretty gnarly. But yeah, like I said, the killer, I kind of wish he was wearing a mask, but like I said, no big deal. It's just a little nitpick.
Yeah.
Setting, I like the setting. The house was cool. When they were kind of exploring and looking around and stuff like that. The shit that they were finding, like I said, the shrine. We talked about that earlier. It was really neat.
I like the fact that they well, let's talk about that room. I like that room. Not just because Johnny's getting a blowjob. I like the fact that like Johnny, who's this cocky asshole jock,
Hate him.
and then he's got the most bratty ass girlfriend. They go in a room. What I love about that room though is as they close the door, like they close the door and you clearly see a hole in the wall next to the door, as if somebody could just walk right into the room from the hallway. I love that. I love that. So I had to write that down in the notes. It's like there's really no point in closing a door if you could just walk into a hole into the room.
Kind of makes that pointless.
Yeah. But then they start making out on this like ratty ass bed, and because the horny teenagers separated in this creepy ass abandoned house, and it's dirty, nasty looking inside there, and she proceeds to start giving the dude a blowjob, and that's when they notice the shrine.
Yeah.
So, but I love the fact that she's like, I'm not doing anything on this bed, and he said, who said anything about me doing anything to you?
Right. He's an asshole.
Yeah.
He's constantly fucking with the girls, like when they're trying to change, when they leave and they break down and they're changing into different outfits and stuff like that. He's creeping on them, and I'm like, dude.
I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised because he saw the one chick kiss the other chick. Yeah. I'm really surprised he didn't like go to the group and just tell them everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like tell them what was going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because for sure that any other fucking time that would have been what happened. Like the person came out and they're like, "Oh man, you never believe what I just saw." But yeah, his character is it's one of those where it's like, oh god, it's like you just want this dude to get killed. He has moments where he kind of tries to redeem himself and stuff like that, and then he goes right back to being an asshole again. So he's like back and forth all the time.
I love what happens to him. So the chick brings a dog with her, and he hates that fucking dog. This is the most I've ever seen anyone hate a fucking dog before. Like, he genuinely hated that dog. So there's a scene where they're hiding out from what's his name, Jode.
Jode, yeah.
Yeah, Jode. So,
Junior.
Yeah, Junior. They're hiding from him in this old ass car, and it's underneath a tarp. so you think they're kind of safe. Well, her dog starts making a bunch of noises because her dog has stayed quiet up until the point where they're trying to hide.
Right.
That's stupid. Because the whole time, like, I don't know about your dogs or if you have dogs, but like my dog would fucking like see somebody it didn't know, it's gonna start barking.
Mhm.
You know, this dog stayed quiet the entire time, and then she chalks it up like he might be getting hungry. You fucking think so? You brought a dog.
She had it in her purse the dog, because it's a small dog, so it's like
Yeah.
she had it in her purse the whole time. And I'm just like, during all the craziness and all the stuff, you never heard the dog. Like, you never even knew the dog was there.
Mhm.
But when they're hiding, she has the dog out of her purse, and that's when it starts whining and stuff like that. I'm like, why did you put the dog back in the purse?
No, so instead she
making
proceeds to just snap its fucking neck.
Dude, and that's when you know, like anybody watching this film, if you do that, if that scene were to transpire in any film, you just completely alienated the whole audience. Because if you do something like that, the viewers, like people watching the movie, are gonna just automatically hate you and just wish you die.
I was already wishing she would die. I'm surprised that she lasted as long as she did.
Right. And then when she does it, Johnny looks at her, gives her like a look like, the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. Like,
But he hates
he
the dog.
genuinely hated this dog, and like she just snaps the neck, and he's just like, yeah, he just kind of,
That's the look.
the fuck did you just do?
It's so weird, man. It's such an odd thing to transpire. Like
Like you would expect like the boyfriend to be like, give me your fucking dog, and then snap the neck, you know?
Yeah.
But like no, like no, it was like her, and yeah, he was even repulsed at her for doing that. Like, I can't believe you just did that. That's inhumane.
I can't either. The shit was
But it
crazy.
goes to show what lengths you will go through to survive.
Survive, yeah.
And being in a situation, can you automatically do things differently to try and survive.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was kind of brilliant writing that in like that, because it just goes to show what, how much a person can change in a split second to survive.
She loved that. Yeah, it was like she obviously fucking adored that dog and loved that dog. So to see that, just know that you're driven to the point of no return, and you have to make a decision, and that's the decision. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And it was for no reason.
Yeah, right. I get the feeling he knew where they were at the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, it's just a waste.
Yeah. I love it though, because like he impales her with like a pitchfork.
Yeah.
And then the boyfriend proceeds to try and just get out of the car and like leave her. They kind of like make eye contact, and he's just kind of looking at her like, bitch, you just killed a fucking dog. You crazy.
Then Johnny tries to escape, and he gets the car dropped on him. That was pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Pretty brutal kill.
You think he would have gotten away had he not gotten hung up in that tarp?
No, I don't know.
Nah.
No. No, they definitely. He was definitely going to get it. They set him up to be the guy that you just want to die, so you know that he has to have a gruesome death.
Yeah.
So it's not very often where they set up a character where he's like such an unlikable douchebag asshole, and they let him survive at the end. Like that rarely happens in movies. So
Yeah.
you just know this guy's going to get it. One thing I loved. And I want to talk about, this is something I want to talk about. I want to talk about the character of Jamie a little bit. Adrian, the final girl set up where they had her like the really goody girl, really nice girl, her friend.
Mm-hmm.
I love, they did something clever in this movie. When they're on the bus and they're going to their destination before they break down, she's talking to Wesley, the jock guy that everybody seems to have, that all the girls seem to kind of have the hots for. And he's like just talking to her, just chilling, and they're like, he brings up like, oh, you injured yourself when you were running track, and I think it's really crazy how you were able to finish the race and this and that with a bum ankle. I think she twisted her ankle or something like that, and she was still able to.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, that's pretty neat. And you take it as like a little just moment where they're just flirting and talking back and forth and this and that. But what they do there with that little exchange of dialogue is they make it to where after Jamie gets the bear trap lodged in her foot, you're like, how the fuck is this girl still running around like nothing is going on when she just got like a bear trap fucking like just wrecked her ankle up, and you're like, how the fuck? But then you think about it, it's like, oh, okay, they set it up to where she can do that because she says something about a breath thing or a breathing technique that she uses to kind of get through the pain to keep going. And I'm like, that was pretty fucking brilliant.
Yep.
Nice little moment there that they were able to do that, write that in, so that character can, because obviously if they never had that moment of dialogue, you'd be like, this is crazy. This doesn't make any sense. This girl just had her ankle gnarled up by this trap, and she's running around like nothing's wrong. Like it's no big deal. Yeah, you could say adrenaline's kicking in, and if you're injured or something like that, and you're trying to run for your life, that you can get through the pain and stuff like that. But most people will be like, that doesn't make any sense. She should be limping, hobbling around, this and that. No, she's running around like nothing's going on. But because they had that little moment of dialogue, they set it up so that's one of her character traits. That explains the whole end chasing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that up because I thought that was really cool. You don't see a lot of movies do that very often, especially in slasher films. You don't really get like moments like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that because I didn't even put two and two together until you said something. That's very interesting because
stuff like that, when indie films, like these little indie slasher films or any indie horror films can do moments like that, have character traits like that, or bring up something and then it pays off in the end. I have to bring it up because I just think that's really cool. It's really clever writing, just really clever, just really basically just really good writing. So
yeah,
down to a good script. So something
definitely
that's just like, it's a simple plot, but you give these characters more traits that pay off in the long run. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty neat, man. Awesome. Yeah, I dig that whole end chase scene. That's very cool. I really like the ending.
Always a sucker for a final chase. You get that pretty much in this one. Robert Patrick's character is he's kind of like hunting down, trying to figure out where they are. He gets a kind of clue that they're going to this cabin, so he's kind of tracking them along the way. And he's like, what do you say? If I can trace the Viet Cong in Nam, then or something like that, then I can find these little shits or something like that.
I thought he called them little turds.
Little turds or something like that.
Yeah.
And then when he's fighting a killer, he's like, I used to, what did he say? I
used to have bigger chunks or something in my shit.
Yeah, he's like, I used to have fucking chunks of guys like you in my stool or something like that. And I thought that was fucking awesome. Really badass line, actually. He's gonna whoop his
only to get beheaded.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's another thing I like about this movie. They build him up to where he's gonna be this badass, kick-ass,
like the hero of the story,
saving the day, and he ends up getting killed in like no time.
Yeah.
I love when movies do that too. They did that in Feast with a character. I don't want to spoil anything, but anyone's seen Feast. But that's one of those things I loved about that movie is they had a character like that. So, yeah, it just cracks me up.
So, one thing we've talked a lot about some of the gore. What's your favorite kill in this film?
I was thinking about that because I'm going to ask you the same question. I guess because of the setup and how it's played off and how dark it is and how fucking mean-spirited it is, the Sean kill is pretty cool where he gets the screw. I don't know what that tool is.
It's like a giant drill, like auger.
Yeah, it's like a giant like auger, manual auger that you twist and stuff like that. Well, he gets that in his back, and the killer just kind of twists it slowly. And this is really dark because he's trying to get away. He's trying to get through the that little.
Well, I like how he goes down into the basement, and he like here's the killer walking to him, and he's like, you know, quickly, frantically trying to get through the door, and he unlocks the lock, and he gets through the door only to be faced with another locked door.
Right? He's like, fuck. It's like, yeah, I love that build up. Yeah, that was really smart on their part to build it up like that. And it's just such a dark, like one of the more mean spirited deaths in the movie. And it's like, fuck, man, you feel for the guy. Because at the end of the day, this is another thing. When I say they kind of flip the order of the way that these characters die and how you would expect them to die and stuff like that, he really has a sweet little like romance with the Adrian girl.
Mm-hmm.
It really seemed like a sweet little couple that are on the verge of you know, a budding relationship, and they're kind of flirting, and it's very innocent and it's very pure.
Yeah, it's not even like he's the cliche asshole, you know, jock. He's actual genuine.
Yeah, he's a genuine dude, and he's a nice guy, and it's like, fuck, man, like it's just so sad. You don't expect the genuine, like really nice person to get like just butchered that way, but and that's what ends up happening. It's like, fuck, man. Subverting expectations.
Do you think that was another paid homage, by the way?
Which one?
The drill bit kill.
To My Bloody Valentine? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's a Canadian film. It just makes sense, you know. I think it was definitely paid homage.
That's one of the biggest, like, oh man, if they could have got that footage of that kill from that uncut version of My Bloody Valentine, that would have been so fucking good.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, that's another review for another time. But yeah, I definitely see that based on what weapon was used. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. But I think I'm with you. The Sean kill.
John kill? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're right on the same page.
I mean, just the fact of how gruesome it was, and you know, you would think again. I thought that he maybe would have survived it, or maybe been like one of the last killers, or one of the last characters alive towards the end of the film. But that just didn't play out that way. So they broke a lot of rules, you know, because you know, making the audience believe that he was going to be right there by the final girl's side. You know, she was one of the first deaths, so it clearly wasn't her that was going to be the final girl. But yeah, the Sean kill, definitely. And again, with how gruesome it was, like as he was turning it slowly, you could hear bones crunching, and you could just see that you almost saw like his backbone being distorted, and I think you even saw like a portion of the front, like underneath him, where the bit was actually coming through. Yeah, gruesome.
It's pretty gnarly.
It is.
That Wesley kill, the Fulci homage, that would have been a really great kill if they wouldn't have CGI'd it. They would have went practical with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have looked really bad, the practical effect, but I would have much more appreciated that than the CGI.
Yeah, and that was another thing. I didn't care for the CGI of Principal C's head.
Yeah, the CGI was pretty rough. Because with that and the eye and like, yeah, just, I don't know, man. CGI and lower indie budget slasher films just never really works for me. I don't know. I mean, no. I get it. It's tough doing practicals, I know. But I've seen so many, even movies that probably have a lot less of a budget than this movie, do it really well. So there's a way you can do it.
Even if it was bad effects, I think it would have been good. Because I mean, it would have just made sense because it felt like an 80s cheese style film, so it just made sense.
It adds to like practicals like that add to the charm.
I mean, it's not really hard to cast someone's head, and then just make a fake, dummy head of the principal and then toss that in.
Yeah.
You could have done a quick scene where, you see the silhouette of the killer in the doorway. He throws a head in. You clearly know that that's the principal's head. Move on. But no, they had to do a close-up shot of a CGI head with the mouth kind of moving still. I'm good. I didn't need that.
Trying to think of other instances of CGI in the movie.
There really wasn't a whole lot of CGI.
That's the thing. There wasn't a lot, so the little bit that they sprinkled in there really stood out because there was so few. So I mean, you add it to another list of nitpicks, but yeah, I don't know. I would have much rather seen.
They didn't really need to even show the eye gouge scene.
Yeah.
With the glass. They could have just made a sound effect and cut to another scene, because later on she actually talks about how she couldn't stand hearing his eye popping.
Bring that up. You got it. Yep.
So I mean that could have done justice right there. You didn't have to add that crappy CGI in to get that effect across.
I think they really wanted to do that because, like you said, it was a Fulci tribute, and they really wanted to show it.
I get that, but Fulci didn't use CGI.
Right, exactly. But Fulci shied away from showing any eye trauma in any of his films, and that's what we love about Fulci. One of the many things we love about Fulci.
Well, really, was this a Fulci homage, or was it more of an Umberto Lenzi homage?
I think more like
because well, I mean, Fulci, it was wood, but Umberto Lenzi did it with glass.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, I don't know. They both did it.
Yeah, that's true. So.
Sure. But anyways.
That's just the way I think, the way I interpret things. Anytime you see eye trauma in anything, I just automatically associate that with Fulci because he is the eye trauma legend. That's his thing. So he just revels in it, and I love that about him. He does not shy away from anything. He shows you, and as uncomfortable and as squirm-inducing as it will make you feel, he just doesn't give a fuck, and he'll show it anyway. And that's why I love Fulci has. That's why I love Fulci's my guy, and that's why Fulci has always been my guy, is because he has the balls to do that shit. I give a fuck what anyone thinks. He's gonna show the gore that he wants to show, and as uncomfortable as it will make you feel, he's going to show it anyway. He just doesn't. So I love him. That's why I always just interpret something like eye gouging or something going through an eye or this and that to the maestro. So.
Definitely.
Yeah, man. Like I said, that's definitely my favorite kill. What do you think? I know we talked about the CGI a little bit, but what do you think was the weakest kill?
I'd probably say Toby. You didn't actually see it.
Yeah, did he just bleed out? Is that what happened to him?
I'm guessing.
Did he die of fright or heart attack from what was going on with him? Or I don't know. It's never really insinuated.
They walked back up to him and he's just dead.
Was he hung up by his neck? I can't remember if it was around.
He had barbed wire going all around him and even through his mouth.
Oh, yeah, under the mouth.
Again, it wasn't like there to kill him. It was more or less just there to kind of basically be bait,
Well, yeah,
they were hung up by barbed wire.
Yeah, he was using the bait to lure the teens out. So yeah, that made sense.
And if he was moving, trying to get out, he could have been, victim to his own wounds at that point. Which
is great because they were fighting with the moral dilemma of what should we do? Should we keep him there and let him suffer, or should we help him, or this? So they're kind of fighting, going back and forth with that, which is really, really cool too. Sometimes you have to face your morality in these slasher films. Are you willing to help somebody on the off chance that you might get picked off, or would you leave them there to die, or do you put them out of their misery? Is it a mercy thing? There's a lot of stuff that gets kind of jumbled in there. That's interesting. I don't know. For me, I'd say the weakest kill was the Maryland kill, because really All they did was kind of like take her head and slam it into a tree a couple times, and that was it.
Mm.
Didn't really, not much from that. So
Yeah, she was kind of quacked out of her mind at that
yeah,
point.
that she was kind of like,
She was in shock.
which was funny because she's like, don't sit down, because if you sit down or you just don't move, you're gonna pass out. Now I don't have the strength to drag you to safety, and this is that. So I like that little exchange of dialogue. I really like everything with Jamie. She was she's another one of my favorite characters. I mean, really cute girl. She could hold her own. She was like, you don't expect her to be the final girl because she make out with that other girl, make out with that Maryland chick. So you're like, okay, this girl's not going to survive. She's not going to make it till the end. But lo and behold, she becomes the final girl, and you're like, wow. So
yeah, it was definitely. Yeah, I didn't see that coming, with her being the final girl. So
that's pretty neat.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah, and I love the ending, how they load him up in in an ambulance because he's now dead.
In the meat wagon.
Yeah, the meat wagon. And then lo and behold, the meat wagon's like on the side of the road. I like how, like, because she was in the back of an ambulance, and they were kind of just getting, she was just getting away, and she looks out the window and sees the wagon on the side of the road, the dead bodies in the driver's side seat or whatever, and they didn't even like call it in or anything. You would think that you would hear them calling it in or something.
Or just driving by.
They just drove by it.
Right, you don't hear anything in the background or anything. But
Yeah.
I do love that I love that freeze frame on her scream.
Yeah.
And then when the credits start rolling, I love that.
Yeah. Did you watch like all the way through the end of the credits?
I didn't.
There's a quick little snippet of him. Yep.
Really?
Right there at the end of the credits. Yeah.
No, I never thought to check the end of the
I always, when I'm watching a movie for these reviews, I always just let the credits roll. There's always just something right there at the end, because I'll be like finishing up my notes or something, and I'll sit there and just let the credits roll all the way through. And a lot of times there's nothing, but in this case there was a little scene at the end.
That's pretty cool, man. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Nice.
So I dig that.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Very often you get that, so when you do, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
I like the well, speaking of the end, when they kind of like giving the backstory on the family and everything like that, that was pretty neat too. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, he must have just been I'm thinking he just wasn't. Well, they said something about, God, what did the sheriff say? The sheriff said something about the family was in the house and he must have been off hunting or something, and that's why he wasn't involved in the massacre or something.
Yeah.
But was he actually hunting like deer or something like, or was he hunting humans?
He was probably hunting humans because
Yeah,
he was part of the whole family was cannibalistic.
right. But they're country folk and stuff like that. So you think it said hunting, and they're like, oh, he's hunting deer or something like that. But
Yeah.
they're cannibals. I mean, you're like, oh, he could be hunting people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
That's why he wasn't at the house or something. He was catching some prey, whatever.
Well, I like how the whole time they're mentioning the story of the Jode family. I really dig that. Like it's like an urban legend in this town amongst these high schoolers. Okay, the thing is they still went to the farm.
Yeah.
Like if you knew the urban legend, would you go in the house?
No, I'm
Like-
fucking around with it.
Yeah, but again, we wouldn't have this movie if that's the case.
That's the thing. Yep, you got to suspend some disbelief with some stuff, because if you just take everything for face value, you wouldn't have a movie in a lot of cases. So you just like you just gotta some things you just gotta let go.
Yeah.
And I get it though. I'm like, there's no way in fuck if there's a legend or a story out there of like a crazy cannibal family that's local, that's around my area that I've heard of, and then you kind of see, because they show the mailbox and the Jode name on the mailbox, and they start questioning things. It's like, no, fuck that. Once you see something like that, once you see a shrine of like body parts and like bones and shit, then you got to get the fuck out of Dodge, man.
Yeah. They're like him. They're like, we'll stay here until daylight and then we'll head out. And it's like, no. Odds are he doesn't even know that your bus is outside of his fucking driveway.
That's another thing I thought about. There's a moment where they all have a weapon. They find weapons around the house, like just anywhere, just whatever they can get, whatever they can find. Some of them are really effective weapons. And they mentioned I think one of the characters says something about, let's take him out. Let's all jump on him and use our weapons and stuff like that. That's a fucking good idea because this guy's huge, but there's so many of you could incapacitate him or try to, or this and that. And they play around with that idea and that possibility and then just drop it. They just drop it. And then there's a moment where I think Johnny, Wesley, and Sean, I think, they each have a weapon and they're going like Joe, like Junior's coming at them and they're holding their own and they're like, should we go? And they're at that impasse where they're like, I don't know if we should attack him or we should just run for it. And then one of the characters is like, fuck it. And they just start running and then they all kind of just take off and split up. Like they set it up to where you think they're going to attack him all together and unify and this and that. But then no, they just fall apart. They fall apart at the seams.
Well, so. Again, like you wouldn't really have a slasher movie,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Because they can't just work together. Come on.
You have these teens be dumb and split up and do things that typical slasher films do. I mean, that happens. So, I mean, I get it. I just think it's funny they play around with those themes a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'll give the movie a lot of credit for that.
Well, yeah, definitely. And it comes down to, again, really good writing. The writing for this film is really good.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's pretty solid, man. Script pretty solid for such a plot. I mean,
all the dialogue. I didn't have not a single issue with dialogue. Yeah. It was all pretty good. And then of course I laughed at a couple things that they said. But overall the dialogue wasn't cheesy either. Like even like the whole Marilyn and Toby situation where there was like a big crushing cheese ball that was going on in the barn. Like it was really still really good dialogue. It wasn't like crummy, god awful.
I mean,
it was good.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Thought it was pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, man, like I said, you ready to get into ratings?
Yeah, we can.
Thanks.
You want to go first? You want me to?
Did you hit up all your points and your notes that you had? I hit up pretty much everything I had. Kind of discussed it too.
Yeah, I got everything.
Kind of the technical aspects, things we liked about it in that regard. So I don't know. I can go first if you want. It's no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, man. So this was like a blind buy for me when I first picked this up I think I picked it up at Walmart actually.
Mm-hmm.
Just saw the cover and initially thought, wow, this based on that cover that looks to me like a slasher movie. So I'm definitely going to pick this up and watch it. And I was pleasantly surprised when I saw it. I was like, okay, there's a lot of attention to detail in this, and there's a lot of heart in this movie. I like characters. Like you said, the dialogue, it didn't seem overtly cheesy or too tongue in cheek, and it seemed pretty natural in some scenes. There's some scenes where it was kind of easy or lighthearted, and then there's some scenes that really got dark, like Sean's death was really, really fucking dark. Even the killer, the Adrian girl, the girl that they set up to be the final girl, when she gets killed, the killer still like mutilates her body and stuff like that in the house. I'm like, that's pretty fucking dark, So they make it a point to do stuff like that. I love what they did with the Jamie character, where they set up that she had, this ability to really put her mind to like getting through the pain and use her breathing technique to kind of do it, and then actually using that in the final chase. That was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Really does that. Like I said, wish the killer had a mask. Wish there was a little bit more. I don't know, like anything would have been pretty cool. Like I said, more of less of a nitpick. Didn't like the CGI. I'm not really a big fan of CGI in indie and low budget stuff. So, I'm always like I'm always against it. I'm like, just do it the old-fashioned way. If you're gonna make an old-fashioned throwback '80s movie, do it how they would do it. Use practicals.
Mhm.
There's more resources available now than they had back then. I mean, so many more things you can, or so many more a lot more access to stuff than you even had back then. So that was just a big thing for me. I really didn't enjoy that. But like I said, for it being a period piece, taking place in the '80s, you know, characters looking. I mean, even the the costumes, the way they dressed and the way they looked period correct. They accentuated their outfits and stuff like that with like accessories and stuff like that to really make it feel like an '80s group, like a group from the '80s. So that was
Mhm.
pretty cool. Yeah, I give this one a 4 out of 5, man. I really enjoyed this movie. I found it to be a pleasant like surprise when I picked it up. Because usually when I pick up these really indie slashers from Walmart, I'm like, I'm not expecting the best, but this one kind of really surprised me. So yeah, 4 out of 5. I think pretty solid rating for this movie.
Yeah. Um, yeah, with me, everything kind of did it. um, the CGI, like to your point, the CGI kind of killed it a little bit for me. I don't really remember the score. I remember there's a scene on the bus where they were dancing to music. I really liked that. It felt very 80s, kind of like 80s kind of hip hop that they were dancing to. I like that.
Copyright music, their own little thing. So
Yeah.
they won't have to
But
pay any royalties.
but I dug it. It felt very 80s. This whole film felt 80s. I loved it. All the way down to like you said, the clothing. I love how, Marilyn kind of dressed a little like Madonna in a sense. It felt like she was dressing, and most girls kind of dressed that way in the 80s, high school girls and stuff like that. I also liked all the, the big hair and stuff, and then Jamie's character I dug. Was it Jamie that was the survivor girl, or they were portraying to be the survivor girl? Yeah. I
No,
didn't.
Adrian was the girl that
No,
they got.
Adrian, yeah. Um, I liked how kind of innocent she was and everything, and how they played it off as she was going to be the survivor, and then just completely ripped that over my eyes. Like I was blown away. I was like, wow, I didn't see that coming. So I always like that in a film where it catches me off guard, because I can sit here and watch a film and know who's going to be a survivor and who's going to die, almost instantly.
Seen enough
And
of them now.
yeah, exactly. You get the notion of who's going to survive and who's not, and then they broke a lot of rules when it comes to slasher films with this. And I love when um, the screenplay writer and the director kind of portrays things differently from what we normally see. So I like that. I like how it felt like a cliche slasher, but yet it wasn't a cliche slasher in a sense. I dug that. But I'm right there with you. 4 out of 5. So yeah, I mean, great minds think alike, I guess.
Like I
But
said, well, you made a good point, man. As two guys that watch a lot of horror and watch a lot of slasher movies and this and that, we know what to expect typically. Even movies that go the throwback route and try to, pay homage to movies from the golden age of 80s slashers. I mean, we know what they're going to set up characters to do, who's
mhm.
going to die, this and that. So when you're able to twist it up a little bit, kind of play with the rules, kind of in a way. I mean, like I said, we just reviewed Scream, and that's a movie that's so meta, and they play with expectations to rules and this and that, and they flip it on its head in a lot of instances. So it's cool to kind of see that in even like a little indie movie like this, and you just know that the guys that wrote the screenplay and the filmmakers, they're big fans, and they like to, kind of subvert expectations in a lot of ways, and they did. There's, like I said, that big moment where she gets killed. You're like, oh shit. I mean, everything you set it up, you know what's going to happen, and then that happens. You're like, okay, well, anything can happen at this point. I can't really say for sure that this is going to happen or that's going to happen because they just fucking subverted my expectations. So, yeah, you're able to do that effectively like they were. My hat's off to you.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, you ready to land it?
Yeah, man. Think so.
All right, brother. Well, folks, we appreciate you staying tuned with another episode of the Midnight Monster Corner podcast, and we hope you enjoyed our review on 2014, 2015, Lost After Dark. And like Tony said earlier, you can catch it on Amazon Prime, Vudu. Where else did you say?
It's on YouTube.
It is on YouTube, yeah.
So,
But I believe all for rent and fairly cheap to rent. So we hope we didn't ruin it for you. We hope that you went and watched that film first and then checked out our review. And we just hope that you keep staying tuned with us and make sure that you like, share, and subscribe, and let your friends and family know about us. Kind of keep us rolling.
yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, guys. And hopefully you guys are enjoying this year's Summer Slasher series. We're having fun, as always, doing it. Like I said, we had a good lineup of films this time around, so we're having a blast with it. We love this time of year. Well, aside from like the really, really hot weather here in South Carolina and all the other shit, like summer can bog you the fuck down, but doing this is actually really fun. And we love covering slasher films in the summer. So we're going to try to keep doing this series as long as we can. And we just hope you guys are enjoying it so far this year, and even last year when we did it. And we hope you guys are enjoying the picks that we have, the reviews that we have coming. So like I said, please hop on the Facebook group if you feel inclined and coming in with the discussions and stuff like that. We always have a good time on there. So if that feels like your thing, and if you're interested, by all means, if you want to put in a request, we have great admins and stuff like that, and great moderators that will accept it and just become a part of the family, pretty much.
Definitely. And yeah, like Tony said, feel free to give out a suggestion or whatever. If you guys want to see us do a review, we don't mind. We will watch it and give you a review.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, man, we're going to start back probably next month with the suggestion episodes again. So we just kind of wanted to get through the Summer Slasher series, and then we'll be on to a new theme.
Yep, as we do.
Yep. But folks, we appreciate you. We'll see you guys later. Catch you on the flip side.
Later.